Hello, everyone. It is another wonderful day and very excited for. Oh, y'all saw me kill that spider. Nope, not a spider. It's a gnat. Got him. Anyway, it's a wonderful day, and I think about last night during our Bible class, I got to ask the question, and I like this question a lot, but it just kind of it fits itself in certain context where you're able to ask the question. Um, and we talked about God's greatest commands, right? The greatest commands are to love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and then to love your neighbor as yourself. And it was just the question was, why should we? Why should we love God with everything that we have? Um, and I love asking that question because everybody's going to have a different answer. People were talking about, he created me. People said, he sustains me. People said he's in everything. There's not a day, there's not a moment that goes by where God is not involved. Um, there's uh, the love that was shown through the sacrifice of Jesus, and it's a wonderful day because we have a wonderful God. And so I, I I would consider you thinking on, at least meditating maybe on that question. Why should I love God with everything that I have? I promise you, if you think about that sincerely, you're going to come away with that with a lot of joy. You're going to respond and when you meditate and you think on the things that God has done, what makes him wonderful and deserving of our love, we just cannot help but be thankful and to be joyful. But anyway, in our reading today that we had, Logan and I have been kind of going through the scriptures, and read about the rich man and Lazarus, which occurs in Luke chapter 16. And I'll say, there's some that call this a parable. Um, and I don't believe that this is a parable because of there's a few reasons. One, parables don't have names genuinely or generally. I don't believe there is a parable that has that uses a name other than a qualifying name like Samaritan, a sort of a category of people that is. But he names Lazarus, and the thing about parables too is they are symbolic and metaphorical for something. You have the planting parables. You've got um, wedding feasts and different things like that that represent something else. So, what would this represent if it was symbolic for anything? I don't believe this is a parable. I think that Jesus is actually telling, um, sort of giving an account of what happened with Lazarus and the rich man. Um, and it's important to consider why these men ended up where they did, right? You've got Lazarus, and he's a man full of sores, laid at his gate, desiring to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. I mean, he was just a terrible, impoverished, unhealthy, um, diseased, and just all out in every way afflicted individual. And God shows compassion on them. But the rich man, he what was his deal? Was it the fact that he was rich and that he was enjoying his riches, or was there something else that caused the rich man to go into torment? Well, it's this phrase, right? Laid at his gate. It's not the fact that there were two men and they were completely different areas or different places of the world. Lazarus was at the gate. He was in the walkway of this rich man, and he's enjoying his feast. He's enjoying his supper, and there's food falling off the table. So much, we don't know if this is gluttony. Perhaps we may call it that. We may not. We don't really know. But the idea is that he's being fed while there is a man outside his door who is starving. That's why the rich man ends up in torment. It's not because he is rich, right? There are lots of rich people in the Bible who were faithful people. Job was, before everything was taken away, he was faithful and righteous. And Abraham, David, there are so many that had lots of riches and were very faithful to God. And they make up that cloud of witnesses that's in Hebrews chapter 11, people that we look to as examples for our faith. So it's not the fact that he was rich, but it was the fact that he had this opportunity to help, and he chose not to. There's a man afflicted in just about every way sitting outside his door, and he chose not to help him. What is our call as Christians as we live, as we go about each and every day? We're to be like Christ, right? Um, the pure and undefiled religion that's talked about in the book of James is such an interesting idea. Religion that is pure, undefiled is this: to visit the orphans and the widows, and to keep oneself unstained from the world. You know, to visit the orphans and widows. These are the afflicted. These are the the suffering. Those who have lost. You care for them. You visit them. You tend to them. I think that's really the idea. It's not just to go and see them, but to attend to them, to care for them. And in Matthew chapter 25, Jesus separating the sheep from the goats. On what basis does he do so? Is it by following certain commands? Of course, we should follow the commands of Christ. We should worship in the way that he desires. We should, again, keep ourselves unstained from the world. But there's something more. I pray that we do not allow riches or allow anything else to get in the way of us fulfilling our responsibility to serve. Our theme verse, we're studying through the book of Mark on Wednesday nights. Our theme verse is Mark chapter 10 and verse 45. For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life a ransom for many. And what a powerful verse, because it really shares who Jesus was. He came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life a ransom for many. Lazarus was at his gate, and the rich man didn't help him. We ought to respond to people in need the way that Jesus does. We ought to respond to those opportunities, or perhaps even seek those who are in need and help supply those needs, help in whatever way we can to encourage and lift up and build. And sometimes it's not money that you need to give. Sometimes it's care, it's compassion. Sometimes it's other things that we need to give to encourage and build up and to just help help those who are in need. I appreciate you tuning in, watching this video, and thanks again for being a patron. And I hope you have seen our mug. This is coming to you, for being a Mug Club member. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful day today.